Well, looky here. You are listening to someone who is bold, authentic, diverse, unpredictable. Baby, I am unapologetically Ramon, and you have entered my zone, the QB zone, baby. Hello, somebody.
Rock Legion.
Welcome back to another episode of the QB Zone. And today our episode is about education, enrichment, and empowerment. And I'm very, very excited for this very special guest we have today. She is an educator. She is also the founder and CEO of her own nonprofit, which we'll get into later. And it is my wonderful sis, Antoinette. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good, doing good, doing good. So you've been an educator for how long?
I've been an educator going on 8 years.
Nice, nice. And what was your journey like? Did you always want to be an educator? What brought you to education?
Well, the funny thing is, I never wanted to be an educator. All of my family is preachers and teachers. Like everybody is a pastor, a minister, and they're educator at from elementary to high school. So I was like, I don't want to do nothing like y'all doing. I'm not going to do that. I went to school at first. I went to Florida Memorial University, and I was majoring in biology because I wanted to be a physical therapist.
Okay.
However, it didn't choose me like I chose it.
Right.
So I had to change some stuff up. Like once I got into those higher maths, that trigonometry, that organic chemistry, that
Hello.
physics,
It won't
it
work.
wasn't working. It wasn't working. So I interned at Disney for a while, where I was in the dance and entertainment department. I entertained that. I did that, and I came back home and I finished my AA in dance because I've been a dancer my whole life.
Mhm.
Ballet, modern jazz, hip hop since I was like 6 years old. And then once I finished that, I went to Berry and I finished my degree in psychology. While I was at Berry, I was substituting.
Mm.
And I just fell in love with it from there. I got to one particular school and the principal gave me my own class. So every day I would have that class. Like I was that teacher. Their teacher had left.
Right.
And just fell in love with it. I fell in love with, I always loved children, but I fell in love with seeing them learn and grow. I fell in love with the atmosphere. I fell in love with wanting them to come to school and just be there for them. Their guide, their instructor, even a parental role sometimes.
Absolutely.
I fell in love with the whole atmosphere. And that's when I realized, God, you were right. This was my passion from the beginning. I was trying to do something different. I was running away from it when I should have always geared myself to it. It's my calling. It's my passion. It's my purpose. And I love it.
And it's so interesting you say that because I remember, I've been doing social work for the last little over 10 years. I never wanted to be a social worker. I grew up, I had an idea of what, I know at that time they call it HRS, but it's DCF now. I had an experience of what they do just because I was raised by my grandmother and there was some involvement from them in regards to that happening. But I literally got my degrees in criminal justice and I wanted to, I said, my journey is going to be, I'm going to start as a probation officer. Youth. I've always wanted to do something with youth. So I want to be a youth probation officer. I said, then I'm going to transition and have a job in the prison. I always want to work in a prison. Don't ask me why. But I want a job in the prison. And none of that happened. I graduated my first degree from FIU in criminal justice, never got a call back for probation. Never. I applied here and back home. And then I was like, I'm tired of working at this call center. I was working at a call center to pay bills. I was tired of working at the call center. I hated it. And my first job, I just thought, let me back up. I said, let me look outside of social work and see what other avenues, not social work, probations, and see what else criminal justice could take me into. And I ended up getting a call as a case manager. And that started my journey with DCL child welfare and stuff. And I was like, okay, this probably lasts me a few years. I get to know a few probation officers. My mind is still set on that. But like you said, you know, when it's your calling, that voice can be very strong. And it will prohibit you from going anywhere than where he wants you to be. And I got stuck in it. I loved it. And I felt like a lot of things that I went through as a minor prepared me to be effective as a social worker. And, you know, my grandma used to always tell me, you know, pray to God to do the job for you. Pray to God, da-da-da. And I said, you know what? I'm going to start taking her at her word. And so I used to literally pray every day before I go deal with these cases that for me to be used. Because I just want to be my own self, my personality, all that kind of stuff. And however that helps these young people, you know, use me. And some of them still have contact with me to this day. Some of them have gone on to get married or to graduate. So it's been amazing. And you teach what grade specifically?
Well, this year I teach second grade this year, but I've taught every grade except fifth. Okay. Except fifth and kindergarten. I don't want to do that. I'm not going that.
And do you want to stay with those grades? Would you ever do high school?
Oh yeah, I would love to do high school. When I was subbing, I actually only liked the sub in high school.
Okay.
My first elementary school I subbed at is the one I'm still at today.
Nice. Educators here in South Florida, really, I believe all over the country, don't get the pay that they deserve.
Oh yeah.
And you know, at that point, that's when you say, okay, you're not in it for the money. You know, it's not hard work, but it's hard work. So what are some of the challenges that you've seen when it comes to you wanting to be, let's say, more effective as an educator?
Oh yeah. Definitely the pay is an issue. Also the budget for the school is an issue, because when you can't afford to do things out your pocket for your class, you go to your principal and they're like, the budget's kind of tight. They bring it to like the SAC committee, which is supposed to be a committee of stakeholders that represent the school, students, parents, businesses around the school. They all are supposed to be there to vote and support the things that happen in the school. And it is very hard, especially for an educator like myself. I love to be in the urban community. I love to see where I came from. I love to pour into kids that are like me, that feel the same way I felt when they were younger. And those schools don't get enough credit. They don't get enough funding. They don't get enough things and opportunities and resources for the children. So as an educator, being at a school like that, I have to get creative. I get creative and I teach my kids in a different way so that they can level the playing field, because they're still going up against the kids out west. Absolutely. They're still going up against the kids up north. They're all competing for scholarships and the same things. Nobody cares where they're from. So as an educator like myself, I have to get creative and go think outside the lines to prepare my kids for a better future.
Absolutely. Has there ever been a situation where, let's say you've had a child that you've been wanting to have a little more progress with, but maybe the home setting may not be the most beneficial or, you know, assist in that manner? Have you had to handle those types of situations where the parents may be conflicting with what you're trying to teach in the classroom?
Definitely. What I have to tell parents sometimes is we're a team. I'm actually with your child more than you're with your child.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to be on one accord in order to move your child to the next level. And I can be that aggravating teacher. Your child bothering me on my job, I'm bothering you on yours.
Hello.
We're gonna fix this, okay? We're gonna get it together. We're gonna fix it, whether you like it or not.
Hello.
And sometimes I do get a little pushback, but the end result is always thank you. You know, I didn't notice that this was the issue. I didn't notice that this was this. Oh, and even when they actually see their child learning, for example, a parent who's never helped their child with homework.
Right.
Once I keep getting on them and getting on them and getting on them about homework, they can see their own child's progress from when they first started helping with homework to a couple months down the line. And then they asking me, oh, can you get more homework now? Because he's doing this, he's doing that. And it just creates an opportunity for cooperation. And builds that village for the child that the child needs.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Talk about with COVID. I'm sure there's a lot of changes, a lot of challenges that all educators had to go through, specifically here in South Florida, where we have very high numbers. Talk about that journey from when COVID first happened up until now, and what was that like with all the adapting you guys had to do?
Well, when COVID first happened, you were literally a week away from spring break and 2 weeks away from state test when everything shut down. I will never forget it. It was March 15th was my last day at the physical location. And the world was in such a confused state. Like, oh, you guys are going to go back to work in 2 weeks. No, it's going to be a month. No. So it was a lot of adjusting. It was a lot of hard work on educators. A lot of educators are not as tech savvy, and they had to get tech savvy very quick. We had to become the educator. We had to become the IT person. We had to become Comcast, fooling with people Wi-Fi. We had to become a lot of stuff in order to keep our kids learning. We had to get even more creative. My mom is an educator of over 42 years. And like I said, she's one of those old school educators who are not as tech savvy. She had to become tech savvy. I had to have more patience for her to become tech savvy.
Right.
We had to have a lot of patience because then again, you never know what a child's home life is like. Mm-hmm. And we're forcing them to do something that they're comfortable with in one setting to bring it to their home setting. So you had to have a lot of patience with that as well. You had to communicate even more with parents to keep them on track of what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
As the times change, as COVID got longer and longer, conditions for school boards changed. Because conditions for the Florida Department of Education changed, CDC conditions were changing, and we had to become very adaptable to everything. And it was good in one way for educators because it showed us that we can teach in a different way. Okay. It showed us that we have more resources than we thought, technology-wise, and gave the kids who are more tech savvy. This is a TikTok, Instagram generation.
Absolutely.
If they be on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube before they could even talk. They know how to work those things. And we didn't really. And now we do. Now you see teaching lessons on TikTok, YouTube lessons on math. We try to push it out any type of way we can for them to still get the benefits of a good education. And it was hard at first, but I think everybody slowly adjusted to it being at home. When we had to come back to work, that was a whole nother adjustment because nobody is used to crowds. Kids are going to be kids, especially in the elementary setting. They don't like to keep their masks on all day.
Absolutely.
And elementary kids get sick a lot. So they are a little germy. And they don't like to keep on their masks. So they had to learn the importance of keeping on their masks, washing their hands, taking time for themselves. Oh, I can't touch my friend. I can play with my friend, but I can't touch my friend. I can't get too close to my friend. We can't share pencils and we can't share this and we can't share textbooks. So it was a lot of adjusting when we got back to school together. And also with COVID still being around, attendance is crazy. Because once a child is sick or a child is showing COVID symptoms, they're gone for a number of days, which pushes them back. And that's when you have to continuously play catch up. And I feel like it definitely has affected the education system at least for the next 2 years. I would say for the next 3 to 5, but at least for the next 2 years.
Just for them to catch up with where they should
Yep.
be.
Yep. Just to get back to normal.
And so what is the restrictions, if any, now? Do you still have to wear the mask in the classroom, or what's going on currently?
Well, currently, according to our governor, we cannot force any student to wear a mask. So they do not have to wear a mask. They have also released the social distancing guidelines. We went from the 8 feet, then we went to 5 feet, then we went to 3 feet, and now it's up to you, basically. And with them being sick and being out, they have to be positive. If they're out, they have to be positive, and they have 5 quarantine days. After those 5 days are up, and they're not showing any symptoms, then they come back to school, whether they're positive or negative.
And that was my next question. So even if they're asymptomatic, but they're positive, they still can come back?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes, they can still come back. Broward, we actually test the kids at the school. They brought in real nurses.
Okay.
And they gave out consent forms to the parents if the parents would like the kids to get tested at the school. So we can test at the school if the parent does consent to it. Dade, I believe, does not do that. But either way, we still have to follow the CDC guidelines.
Right. Speaking of our governor, are there any laws or rules that he put in place that you feel was not in the best interest of you as educator?
Yeah, the health laws, the mask law. The mask law is definitely not in my best interest, especially dealing with little second graders.
Mm-hmm.
They're 7 and 8 years old. They want to come right up to your face when they talk to you. They come up to you coughing. They come up to you with a runny nose. So I have to stay on top of my health. I take numerous vitamins.
I know that's right.
Yeah, I drink lemon water every morning. I drink water throughout the day. I have to stay on top of my health because I can't force them to keep their mask on no matter how much I try. And then, like I said, some kids, this is still flu season and everything else. They're coming to school,
Right.
sneezing, runny nose, and it's not too much we can do unless they're showing specific COVID illnesses.
Okay. Are there any laws that you wish were modified or were put in place that could help you be a better educator?
As far as COVID or?
No, not COVID, just education system as a whole.
Yes, I think, and I may upset a few people with this, but I feel like there should be more of a parental responsibility.
Absolutely.
There should be way more of a parental responsibility held on the parent for their child's education. If I've reached out to you 1,000,000 times before fourth quarter that your child is lacking and there's nothing you're doing, I'm constantly calling you, I'm constantly letting you know what's going on, even behavior-wise. It's very hard to suspend a child. The child has to do a lot of things just to get one suspension.
Well,
and that just builds up their tolerance and their mindset. Like, oh, I know I can do this, this, and this, and this before I even get a consequence.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like there should be stronger behavior laws in school, and there should be more parental responsibility laws.
You know, that's interesting because I remember when my uncles and mom was growing up, if you had a situation where, let's say, the school was having problems with your child and they was having a hard time getting in contact with the parents, baby, they was coming to your house knocking on your door.
Old school way, yeah.
Yeah, you know, the old school way. Of course, they wouldn't dare do it now. And, you know, back in them days, the teacher, the principal, they could beat your child.
Yeah.
You know, was illegal when they was growing up.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was in kindergarten, I was so bad. But I remember when I was in kindergarten, and I won't say what I did. I'll say offline what I did. And I get called to the principal office, and he was, you know, a colonizer. And baby, he had this paddle. I had gotten in trouble a lot by this point. He had a paddle and was threatening that he would hit me with it. He was gonna spank me with it. And I was like, I wish you would spank me. Like, I wish you would. We didn't finna play them kind of games. And I remember they was like, listen, if I'm gonna stay in this school, then y'all gonna have to come and volunteer and be here with them. So like my grandmother had to take time out of her schedule to come to this cotton picking school so that my ass could behave. And then I remember that's when she was still working as an engineer. So this is cutting into her work time. Her job ain't gonna allow her to keep doing this. So I believe that's when she called my mom. She was like, you need to bring your behind home and help take care of your child. Because this is not gonna work. I can't be going out here almost every day. They was calling my grandma. But that was really the only grade I was bad in, because first through what the grades, I wasn't all that bad. But yeah, that they don't, the parental responsibility is gone. Because I remember when I was coming up, like for example, middle school and high school, you know, you would have the teachers that would invite the parents to come help out in the class, or the parents could come and sit in the back of the class the whole goddamn day. And just that type of presence, I think, was beneficial, not just for their biological child, but for the rest of us, because, you know, I call it a privilege that when I was growing up, you still had that concept, it takes a village. So if I got in trouble, please believe by the time I got home, I probably got told off or got, you know, spoken to by the principal, the dean, the school business officer, the neighbor's mama, because, you know, we all, our kids, we're all part of the school together. And I think that's something that has lacked. I think that village component, and like you said, the responsibility of the parents, I feel it has contributed to the decline.
Yeah, definitely has contributed. And it does need to be stronger laws on them. It really does. And it's only there to support their child.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have you ever had a child? Have you ever had to fail a child?
Definitely.
Oh, okay.
Definitely. All the time.
Did you get pushback from the school or the parents, or what was that like?
Sometimes, well, it's automatically, it's okay, let me say it like this. Legally, the teacher is required to put that the child is not meeting criteria for promotion. So that's what our responsibility is to do. If they're not passing the test that they need to pass per quarter, not let alone state testing is end of. So, but there are other things throughout the year, each quarter, that they're supposed to be tested on, so that we can see if they're on grade level, if they're meeting the standards at the grade level they're at. And every quarter, we're supposed to put a check mark on the report card and the interim, letting the parent know that this child is not meeting criteria for promotion. At the end of the year, there's a list of students that will not be meeting criteria for promotion, and that is turned into your principal. From that point, the administration is the final say on whether they are pushing this child up or they are retaining this child. So technically, it is not the teacher's job to retain a child. But if the child is not meeting criteria for promotion, we do have to document that legally.
Okay. What would you say is a roles, looking over your years of being an educator, what would you say your roles in Thorn?
Okay. My roles is my kids coming back to me seeing them grow up, them coming back, and they're talking to me. That is amazing. For my dismissal duty, I do bus duty and walkers. So the middle school kids and the high school kids get off the bus and they always running up to come talk to me. I love that. I love to see their progress. My thorn would be all the paperwork that we have to go through.
Okay.
It's a ton of paperwork. And I'm sure you working in social work know. It's a lot of so that's really my thorn. Anything dealing with the kids is a rose for me.
Absolutely. So you are the CEO and founder of Renewed Minds. And I thoroughly am excited and happy for what's to come. And I love the fact that you had started the organization, because I had the privilege of seeing you operate as an educator twice when I career day, and seeing how you ran your operation last summer was so inspiring. And it just made me want to help more and more, and I always will, by the way. So if you need me, call me. Tell us about the journey of starting Renewed Minds and that motivation.
Wow, the journey of starting Renewed Minds. Well, I was the site director at my school's after school program, running it for a few years. And we got a new principal, and she switched up things and gave it to somebody else. And I was very down about it. Number one, that was a cut in my pay. Number two, it was something I built in my own way, and it was running smooth. And I was proud of myself because I'm a pretty young educator compared to my peers. And for me to come in as a young educator and basically take over the nighttime school, it was a big deal because I want to be in leadership. I do aspire one day to be a principal. That's why I got my master's in educational leadership. So once she took it away from me, and I was speaking with my dad about it. My dad is a pastor. He pastors Renewed Bethel Baptist Church in Opelika, Florida. And he said, baby, God has already given you all the tools. You need to just use them. He said, why work for somebody when you know everything? He said, God put you in that position to set you up to learn.
Absolutely.
You have learned the position, and he's taking you out of it for you to grow. And I gave him pushback at first because I'm like, no, I want my job back. I finally said, okay, you're right. I wrote a grant to Florida Department of Education, actually to the state of Florida. I wrote a grant to the state of Florida, and I turned it into our state representative down here, Dr. James Bush, and the governor accepted it. And so crazy because they said out of hundreds of applications, he accepted mine first.
Wow, amen.
And he accepted it, he funded it, and once he funded it, I was like, okay, we can get started, but I still had a hard role of paperwork and learning how to manage paperwork that I had to get over. And it was hard, but the ending result was so successful. When I got to be there with the kids and actually see my own school done my own way by me, it was mind-blowing. That's why now I will tell anybody, never let anything stop your dreams. Never let anything stunt your growth, because there's so much more in the world if you just apply yourself.
Right. And isn't that crazy how life worked or how God worked? Because you looked at it as, you was down and sad about it. And I get it. I think anybody would have. But like your dad said, it wasn't a rejection. It wasn't like anything was wrong with you. God was setting you up for what he had in store for you. And a lot of times we do come across situations like that and we give up. We give up, we're down about it, we get angry, not realizing that this was only supposed to be a temporary step. So I think that's amazing that you didn't give up and you had a very nice turnout. What is to come with Renewed Minds? Are you guys gonna do the summer thing again? What's coming on?
Yes, so Renewed Minds Educational Enrichment Center will be open for the summer. It is free to all K through 8 students, whether you're Miami-Dade or Broward County. It is 100% free. The only thing you pay for is field trips. Field trips are no more than $10. So that's all the parents pay for is field trips. It's breakfast, lunch, and a snack is included every day. And we do all sorts of things. We do reading, math, science. We do social emotional learning. We do biblical studies. We do dance, music, art, and I take them everywhere. All of my field trips are academically and educationally engaging for students. Before they go on a field trip, they have a weekly lesson based on wherever we're going. So like we went to skating one time, and the week before we were talking about gravity and force of motion. We went bowling, And the week before, we were talking about potential and kinetic energy. We went to the Vizcaya Museum. And before that, we were talking about geometrical structures and also the social studies of living in Florida. So they're learning and I'm putting them in the reality of it. I'm making them feel it. It's also mentorships. You helped me with mentoring the young guys there. I mentored the ladies, and I just love to see children grow into positive and productive citizens.
Absolutely.
And that's what I think. So we're starting again this summer, as soon as school is out, that first Monday, which I believe is the 14th or the 15th. And we're going into the first week of August, so I'm extending it this year. We stopped at the end of July, so this year we'll be going into the first week of August. And after that, we have full after-school tutoring every day, Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay. And if anyone in Dade or Broward want to get connected, want to bring their child to be a part of Renewed Minds, how do they reach out to you guys? How do they contact you guys?
Well, our website is www.renewedminds.net. My email is renewedminds with the S at the end, EEC@outlook.com. So they can either reach out and press the contact button on the website, or they can just email me, hey, I want to sign my kid up, and I'll automatically send them an application. Or they can just stop by the church and pick up an application any Sunday. Any Sunday, it's 15,000 Northwest 27th Avenue, Opelika, Florida, 33054.
That is amazing. That's amazing. I hope that each year you guys continue to grow and grow and grow, because what you're doing is amazing. And I love the fact that you're opening up the minds, and people are seeing things that they've never seen and experienced before. And the fact that you are connecting education to a field trip is, to me, a very amazing process, because you can just take them on a trip to the zoo, skate rink, and they just have fun. But you're attaching fun and education. And I feel like it helps the information be internalized deeper. So I think that's amazing.
Yes.
Absolutely. And so I appreciate you taking your time out to do this interview. I really appreciate it. I hope to have you back again. And listen, as always, I'm always here. Let me know.
Thank you. Thank
you. Oh, no, I appreciate you. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's it for The Zone today. We are officially shutting it down. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until next time, remember this. Work so hard that you no longer call them your dreams. You call it your life.